Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me this afternoon is Jeff Dostalek, the Deputy Chief of Fitch-Rona EMS. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you for coming in today. We
Sure.
appreciate it. And today I've asked you to talk about cold weather emergencies, even though it's been a little bit above normal. Go figure. We still have issues with frostbite, hypothermia, things that traditionally happen during cold weather season, and that's still going to happen now.
Right.
Even when the temperatures are around freezing. So, but I don't want to steal all your thunder here, Jeff. I want you to go.
I'll just
with
sit
it.
and listen to you.
Okay, well, here we go. When you have no.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start with the differences between frostbite and hypothermia.
So hypothermia, even if it's 41 degrees like it is today, people can still get hypothermia. So if it rains or if you happen to get wet because you're ice fishing in the lake, and for some reason the water, the ice cracks and you fall in the water, you can certainly get hypothermia. It doesn't really matter what the temperature is. The difference is frostbite is more specific to a specific area of your body, such as your fingers or your toes when they get cold. Hypothermia is more systemic. So you'll have to look for signs of shivering, exhaustion. You'll notice when somebody is becoming hypothermic that they'll start to have some memory loss. They'll have some confusion, some drowsiness. And then with infants, you also see infants that might have some low energy, or they might have bright skin, red skin, and again, cold. Frostbite, on the other hand, is going to be things such as redness or pain to an area, whitish or grayish yellow skin. The skin usually feels firm or waxy, and there's a numbness to it.
Yeah, so either one, I mean, both bad,
Right,
certainly.
right.
But when you do come across, maybe you find somebody out on a trail or something, you don't know, no witnesses, nobody's seen anything, but they're laying there. What recommendations would you have until you can get help?
Right. So the first thing that I would recommend is if you're going to go out and you know that you're going to have some inclement weather, or it's going to be cold outside, is to make sure that you prepare for that. So if you're going to go hiking or you're going to go sledding or something to that effect, just be prepared for that. So warm blankets, having a place to get to shelter if you need to. If you happen to come across somebody that may be suffering from hypothermia, the first thing to do is just, if they're wet, is to try and get some of that wet clothes off of them and get them covered up into a warm blanket or someplace warm. You want to make sure that you get those central areas such as the chest and the head, the groins. If you have heat packs or something that can warm them up, that's the first thing that you should do. And then warm beverages, obviously. If people have an altered mental status, then certainly you'll need to call 911 and get them into emergency care to get them warmed up.
Absolutely. Who's at greater risk for developing frostbite or hypothermia?
Good question. So the elderly, obviously, and infants are at greater risk for that. So just because of their inabilities to keep warm or regulate their temperature, they get cold. I know at 54, I get cold at home when our temperature is set in our house. I don't get necessarily hypothermic, but the elderly, older adults, and then obviously kids too, because they can't regulate themselves. And the other issue is that they may not recognize kids and infants they're not able to help themselves. And elderly patients that may suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's or mobility issues, they may not be able to help themselves either. So those people are at greater risk.
Absolutely. And I've said if you find somebody that treatment, that the key here is just get them out of that environment,
Right.
Get the clothes off, whatever the case may be, and get help. On your side, once if you do show up and you're dealing with this, what are some of the treatments that you guys do as far as the ambulance goes?
Sure. So obviously the ambulance is going to be nice and warm. We are able to start IVs, and we do have our IVs are on a warmer year around, just for the fact that people can suffer hypothermia even if it's warm outside. So we do start warm saline on them. We do carry hot packs in the ambulance, where we'd be able to put hot packs in their groins or their armpits or around the central area to start warming them up. That would be our treatment of choice. One thing to note for frostbite is if you know somebody's suffering from frostbite, watch for those signs of hypothermia as well. So if they've been out in the cold to get frostbite, they probably are hypothermic. So the same treatments would apply to a patient with frostbite as well. And then just make sure that you don't rub those areas. So just cover them up and warm them up passively. And then those patients would need to be transported as well.
Absolutely. And one other thing, as long as we're talking about the cold weather emergencies, fall's pretty common in the wintertime, no matter
right.
no matter what the season, but being a little bit slippery out and stuff. If somebody does fall outside, what would you recommend them do here real quick?
So if you come across somebody that's fallen, make sure they don't have any injuries. If you can cover them up and they're not injured, and you can help them up, get them into a warm area, that's fine. If they do have injuries where they can't be moved, then certainly cover them up as much as you can with blankets and try to keep them warm. Call EMS for sure on all of those cases, and make sure that you note that to the dispatcher that the patient is outside and on the ground, and that makes our critical thinking a little bit better when we're responding.
Absolutely, yeah. It's hard to decide when somebody falls. It's hard to decide if you should move them, shouldn't move
Right.
them. Then you're adding in the wintertime piece, kind of gets you nervous, I think.
Right.
But
I think the biggest thing is to be prepared for the weather. That helps a lot. Put those things in your car that can make a difference. So if you can carry hot packs, if that's an option, or blankets for sure, making sure you have water and some food in the car, that if you get into an accident or you get stranded or you get lost, that you have those things that you can take care of yourself for a little bit.
fantastic. All right, Jeff, I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Stay warm out there, sir.
Stay warm.
All right, that's Jeff Dostalek, Fitch-Rona EMS. Certainly check their website out, email, call. These guys got the answers for you.
We're here.
Trust me. I know this. I know this for a fact. All right. We'll take a quick break, wrap up the show next. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.